Thank you. We are recording.
Okay, very good. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll call this special council meeting of March 27th, 2023 to order at 4:01 Pacific time, I guess, it being 7 o'clock here Eastern time. I would like to, as a first thing, I would like to have a motion to have an approval of the agenda, including late additions and deletions, if there are any.
There are no late additions.
Okay, and can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Councillor Flan, Councillor McNary seconds. All those in favor? Thus it passes. All right, then we go to the next thing, which is bylaws and resolutions. Can I ask staff to introduce the financial plan bylaw update?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Sorry for having to call a special meeting. It's not how we normally like to do these things, but we had a grant opportunity come to us the day after council adopted the third reading, or passed the third reading of the financial plan. So in order to meet the grant deadline and to not mess up our budget, we called this special meeting. So it is simply an amendment to the financial plan to include a simple in and out. So the grant is 100% funded, correct? So the grant's 100% funded if we get it. So there's no cost to the district if we get it. So but we do have to record it in the budget that we're expending money and receiving revenue. So an in and out. And so that's really all we're asking for of council now. Unfortunately, the way that readings of bylaws go, you can't simply amend a third reading. You have to actually rescind it and then adopt an amended version of the third reading. And then the normal adoption of the whole bylaw occurs at the next regular meeting. So the grant, in case you're curious, I haven't had a chance to read many pages of this grant application. It's for something called a situation table, which is a way of bringing all related agencies together within a community to work on case files where there might be complexities or breakdown in communication between agencies. We're dealing with individuals in the community or families who are struggling to get the support they need, or we're struggling as agencies to support them. Sergeant Clay's here has got some background on this as well. Council wishes to hear from him directly on this. Back to you, Council. You want to hear more on what this is about?
I would like to know.
I would just like questions.
Okay. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. And I do apologize. It's not Jeremy's fault that this was the day after. This is something that we've been working on for a while. And it took actually being out of the office for 2 weeks and on spring break at home to be able to sit down and actually get the paperwork done for this. So in your package, you have a final draft copy of the grant application. Now, the grant application is for the creation of a Lillooet and Lytton area situation table. Now, what a situation table is it's funded 100% by the Office of Crime Reduction and Gang Outreach through the Solicitor General's office through the province of British Columbia. And the purpose of the situation table is to bring frontline work with public safety, health, social services, and community support together to identify proactively and mitigate risks associated with criminal offending, victimization, and personal crisis. So situation tables have been running in the province of BC for probably 5 to 8 years now. Surrey has a couple, Merritt has one, Williams Lake has one. There's one up in Dawson. I believe Fort St. John's just put here to bring theirs online. And it's got a very rigid framework to it. So it's a bi-weekly meeting of the service providers, 90-minute hard stop. We're not dragging on for 3 days. We're not talking ourselves in circle. There's also set criteria that has to be met for the situation to be introduced to the table. From there, because you've got education and health
and family services and addiction services and police all in the room, and you start discussing a situation, there may be input from the other agencies or organizations, and you're, oh, hey, we've got a similar situation on the go. And you have a chance to break out and identify who actually is the best agency to be handling the situation. Now, as Mr. CEO said, this is 100% funding. So in the grant, the 100% funding is the seed money to get going. They cover the training, they cover the equipment to get going, they cover the community engagement. There's no added cost to the district or to Lillooet Friendship Center or the RCMP or MCFD or anybody else. From there, the day-to-day or the week-to-week, month-to-month meeting of the senior leadership group and the situation table, that's no different than, you know, having me having a meeting with MCFD or FNHA or the district and whatnot. There, it's just part of the course of doing business. But there's no added expectation that comes back to the district. When I was speaking with the contact from the Office of Crime Reduction and Gang Outreach, it was his recommendation that the grant money flow through local government versus through a community-based service group or NGO and that kind of stuff. It's just cleaner for the province and for that agency to do that. But as Mr. CEO said, there's no added impact to the O&M budget for the district on this. It's simply you guys hold the money from the grant, and as we spend the grant over the next fiscal year, it's basically cut the checks would be spent. The original, this kind of changed us a little bit at the 11th hour. The original grant was for 40, Michigan grant plus is for sort of $45,000 to $46,000. And in conversation with Crime Reduction and Outreach Office, they actually made a few recommendations, and that's where we ended up upping it to $76,410. That was on their recommendation based on doing just a draft read of the grant application. We are on a timeline with this. I believe because we're getting ready to wrap fiscal year for provincial and federal government. I believe they want to get this done and, approved on their end and money to us before Friday, which I think is the end of fiscal. So with situation tables, this really all started down in Surrey. They kind of ran the pilot projects for this, and what they were noticing was a decrease in issues because of the increase of collaboration of service providers. And the other thing they recognized here is that there isn't a single agency that has all the resources in place to be able to respond to most situations that we deal with. It's multi-connected. No, it's not just, that somebody is committing a crime, They've been committing a crime because of, job instability, housing instability, food instability, mental health, addictions, but as the police, we can deal with the crime. But the other four is not really our area of expertise, knowledge, or do we have the service providers to be able to do that? But by bringing those other providers to the table to discuss these issues is where they're starting to see better results, better response. And when I look at kind of some of the stuff that we deal with here in this area, we do have a lot of our day-to-day individuals that are, or that would be multi-agency response. They're not us to the grant.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for the backstory on that. Any questions for staff? Councillor Flan?
I just wanted to know, so this is just for 1 year funding? So is this like a 1 year thing, or what happens once the funding is done? Who's paying for?
There is no carrying cost going forward. This is getting it going, and then from here, where we end up with then is the table becomes like an entity unto itself. And it carries forward with the participation and the support from the agencies that are involved in it.
And so it's just the 1 month of training that's
Yeah.
involved, and then,
So cause on page. What am I doing here? So on. Page 7, you'll see intervention partners. So that was at the very kind of, I'll say, quick, who would be involved in this there? So the intervention partners,
Page 10.
right, page 10 on the. Sorry, I guess I've got a couple.
We got two different.
Yeah, sorry. So on the intervention partners. You'll see we've got the list there with the RCMP, tribal, IH. The local governments, community, service agencies. The success of the table rests on the partners utilizing the table for what it's meant for. And and this list here is not all encompassing, as we go through the startup of this. And part of this grant is the funding to be able to, okay, now let's take this from a concept that we talked about to a reality. And the thing is seeing the leadership group of here, be like, okay, who are we missing? Who do we need? Is there someone that we didn't think of? Sorry. Is there someone that we didn't think of that needs to be in with intervention partners? From there, there is a timeline that we've set, and the timeline is not hard in stone, because I recognize we're coming into summer, and sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to get things going, but I just wanted to give kind of a rough timeline that we could work with there, and where we see the community mentors, local champions, it'll start with them. So when we started this idea, it was, the CAO, myself, Carol, and Kate from the Friendship Center. We just kind of started having a conversation. We just sort of stated, this is an idea. We had a presentation from Dave Dixon, who is a retired RCMP officer and was the community justice coordinator at the Williams Lake for a number of years. I know we also had a presentation come in from Office of Crime Reduction Gang Rape, just to give us a bit more of a background on this situation. And really, one of the takeaways from them was when you identify your community mentors, your senior group, they're really the ones that will be driving this down for the year over year, the legacy of the table. And then we've got formalized training that will blast in the first instance, and then from there there'll be the plan in place for the ongoing, the ongoing training, ongoing success of the table. As people leave, new people come in, faces change. There will be some internal in-service type training for how the table runs, how it's used, and what we do.
Okay, great. Very good. Councillor Weed?
Yes, I'm wondering, it's listed intervention partners, District of Lillooet. Now, is that mayor and council? Is that staff? Is it all of the above? Is it whoever's available? Is it an appointment? I'm just curious on how this is going to work.
So it wouldn't be mayor and council. It would be staff, and it would be dependent on the situation. So for example, we know that we have, that we seem to be having ups and downs with where some of our local homeless individuals choose to set up their stuff. In a case like this, it could be something as simple as bylaw. Bringing situation forward, you know, with the, or, you know, recreation, bringing situation forward to the table. So that was where the district would really be involved in that there.
Okay. I have a question for Mr. Denegar. In your introduction, you indicated that I forget exactly what the sentence was, but it was conditional if this application is granted. Are we amending our budget for a grant application that has not been approved? Is that my correct understanding?
We've received indication that it will be approved, and the last thing we're waiting for is council's authorization. There is, of course, always the possibility until we receive the signed agreement from them that something will change and they won't approve us. In that case, we wouldn't move forward with this because there would not be sufficient funding to do it.
Okay, but that would mean that we have to then amend our budget again.
Yes, which will happen throughout the year, so we would just tack it on to the next.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and then one more question to the Sergeant with regard to the intervention partners. It's an extensive list, and you indicated that may not be complete. But have all these partners, intervention partners, been brought on board? Have they consented to be part of this process, or are we just hoping that once we get the budget approved, that we can entice them or bring them on board at that time?
That's a good question. And so we've had with some of the partners listed on the intervention list, we've had some initial conversations with them that the idea has been floated by them. One of the things that we are just working on here right now will be the formal letters of support from the agencies. Now, that being said, I am confident that they will all sign on to this, and I'm basing that confidence on the fact that when I look at tables that are already in existence around, you know, interior health catchment area and the province, they're all active partners in those tables with their local service providers. You know, really, when we look at something like this, if it, and I'm going to be completely self-serving here, if it drives down certain aspects of workload because the wrong agency's been responding to a situation and we get that to it where it's supposed to go, I would say that the partners would be happy. Yeah. So they would want to sign on to it.
Okay, well, if the grant is approved and if all the intervention partners come on board, I think it's another, you know, great example of how the various communities can work together on these issues that transcend the municipal boundaries or legislative authorities that are in this area. Are there any further questions for staff?
Answered mine.
Okay, seeing none, can I then have a motion that the third reading of the financial plan bylaw number 2023-006 dated March 21st, 2023 be rescinded, and that $76,460 be included in the financial plan bylaw number 2023-006 for the Lytton-Lillooet situation table to be fully funded from the Collaborative Public Safety Program grant program from the BC Ministry of Public Safety and the Solicitor General, and that the financial plan bylaw number 2023-006 be read a third time as amended.
Mr. Acting Mayor, just a point of order, if you don't mind.
Sure.
With it being read with the ands, I just want to be clear that these are in fact three separate resolutions and will be recorded as such, just for the room.
Okay, so do you want three separate movers and seconders, or do you?
No, how you've done it is fine. I just wanted to be clear that they will be recorded individually.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. Can someone move this trifold of motions. Councillor Wiebe. And Councillor McNary seconds. Any further discussion? No, seeing none. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. All right. Very good. Then we can do German. Can I have a motion that the March 27th, 2023 special council meeting be adjourned at 4:21 p.m. Moved by Councillor Flan. And Councillor Wiebe seconds. All those in favor? Perfect. That is amazing. So that adjourns our meeting. We should have all of our meetings like that. 21 minutes.